Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Lore Sports proudly brings to you the best racing podcast in the world. Now, here's your host, Lauren Leach, the color guy, Mark Allen, the Lugs Racing podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Lugs Racing podcast presented by the Corp Racing and Valley Gasket. Thank you to Tim with the Corp Racing and Ben and Kerry with Valley Gasket. We appreciate it so much. It allows us to do more of this, so very, very thankful for them. Mark, episode 157, how are you doing, man?
157, man. Good new intro music, dude. Sounds like a little bit of a headbanger going on there, man. Sounds good.
Yeah, I changed some things up. I updated some logos, got some new pictures on the video. We're going to try to do video more often. We did that a few times. I think it was back in, Mark, 2022, since we did our last. I remember we had Ty Majeski on doing his announcement to go to ThorSport and all that initially and all of that. So I think we got a setup now that we can do more video. So looking forward to it.
Far out, man. We're advancing as we go here. Cool.
Yeah. We got another exciting episode for everyone here. We're going to have Luke Fenhaus on shortly. I got my Luke Fenhaus shirt on. Excited to have him on. Of course, he was back in the ThorSport 66 Ford F-150 truck this past weekend at Atlanta. Going to do some more races, so we'll talk to him about his previous truck starts and what that all entails and going forward here. So looking forward to having him on here in just a few moments, and we'll talk some news. We'll recap Atlanta and look ahead to COTA before we turn the calendar tomorrow to March, man. We're already in March.
All right, man. We're working out of winter here. Looking forward to spring here. So looking forward to that, man.
For sure, man. Hey, why don't we go out right away and bring Luke on?
To the hotline. Let's go, man. Let's go to the hotline.
Let's do it. All right, Luke, thanks for joining us. Had a pretty good run down at Atlanta there back with ThorSport. So how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Just got back home from Ohio and Sandusky, and good performance overall. We showed really good speed towards the later end of the race. We put ourselves in a good position, and then just kind of got shuffled out late there. But happy with how it went. Happy with how the race started. Made the right adjustments to get me up front, and then it put us up front and ran up front and had good speed up front, and then just got shuffled out and made a couple mistakes, and now we know, and we keep learning from that and put ourselves in a better position for next time.
Speaking of learning, man, what was the biggest thing that you did learn down there in Atlanta?
There's a lot of things. I mean, that was just a completely different race, that I've ever done. That was probably my first speedway race type race, with the drafting and in a pack like that. And then running along Kyle for quite a few laps there, and just seeing how he did a lot of his side drafting and how he controlled lanes, just big for me. It was big for me to put myself in those positions from the rear of the pack to by myself at one time to then running up front and getting pushed and then leading for a little bit. So all those things are super beneficial to myself and my team, and now like I said, now we've been in that position and we can learn off that and move forward and be better for next time. So a lot of side drafting, things like that are a lot different for me, but taking it all away from Atlanta, I think we'll be in a much better position for the weeks to come.
We've talked to a lot of drivers in your position, and I feel like going from the short track level up to the NASCAR ranks, I feel like that discipline, the super speedway, used to be plate racing, is the hardest for people to adjust to from the short track rank. Would you agree with that so far early on in your NASCAR career?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think, it's a completely different fashion and way of racing. I mean, with understanding the arrow and even the side drafting, even at mile and a half and things like that, is just so new to me. So, that was the hardest part was, simulator's one thing and adjusting on the truck is one thing, but to put yourself out there in a position to race and not just race to race hard and to get pushed and then side draft, and then times that you need to be sucked up to somebody, and then times you need to leave somebody is all different to me. So obviously difficult for me. Obviously, it's the first year this year, or first race this year, for that to happen, which I think is great. I think now when we go to our next up and coming racetracks, that we're more prepared. We're more prepared on the drafting side and the side drafting, and pit stops play a big role. So all this is still new, even though we ran 3 races last year. But learning and adapting quickly is a big part of it.
How big were those 3 races that you had last year? I mean, you've been very successful right away when you hopped in the truck. Some great finishes there. I think you have an average finish of 13th in the top 10 twice. So you've had some good runs. How crucial were those good runs preparing you for this upcoming year where you're going to have more races?
Yeah, I mean, it was everything. I mean, if I'd be starting out fresh if I didn't have that last year. And when I came into this year running 2 short tracks and Pocono, I just had a different mentality this year, and where I can be more aggressive and understand more of what I need. I don't think I fully know what I exactly need right now, but just a more understanding of how the air reacts. Even at the Rockingham test, I felt way more comfortable and understanding the truck and what I need throughout the race, and where our trucks tend to trend throughout the race. So that's big. Obviously you got to start somewhere at some point, and obviously at the late model level, I feel really comfortable. When I hop into a late model, I know what I need, and now it's just learning it at a different level, and just completely different race vehicle, right? It's still racing, and it's still you're basing it off the tire and going off of the tire balance, but it's just a little bit different fashion, and I think adapting to it is the biggest thing, and a lot of different variables go into that with the racetrack, and the air is probably the most different thing that you have to adjust yourself to.
Yeah, we know that truck can punch a hole through there. Hey man, you got some really awesome teammates, man. You lean on
Mhm.
them a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Ty's been an inspiration to mine for a very long time, and it started years ago when I've started in late models and then traveled to Milwaukee and lacrosse and things like that. So he's been a huge, he's probably been the biggest one that I've relied on, and he's been every direction he's helped me in, whether it's air and side drafting or racing, or when it comes to Atlanta and qualifying, to all the way to everything. I mean, it's pit stops. It's just a different world for me to learn in. So to lean on those guys, even Crafton, really good guy to lean on. Rhodes, Jake, and then people at the shop. I mean, everybody at ThorSport Racing is very experienced, and they have great people behind it. Duke, Rhonda, Allison, Thorson, those guys have been a huge help. Tracy Hines, everybody there is just amazing, and so they're all. That's why they're one of the number one truck teams, in the sport. So, been very fortunate to have surrounded myself around great people, and continue to build off of it.
Yeah, Mark mentioned the teammates there. You got to race around a legend like Matt Crafton, learn from him. You mentioned earlier, too, you got to race with Kyle Busch. You got to pass him. You got to side draft him a little bit. And then you gave him a little bump down the backstretch a few times, too, when he slid up in front of you, too. What was that like racing Kyle Busch? And I know you mentioned the side draft and all that.
Mhm.
A lot of people are mentioning that he even toyed with the field a little bit, for lack of a better term there. Did you
Mhm.
feel that at all? And what was that like racing Kyle Busch, especially up the front?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he kind of controlled most part of the race. I thought in my position, moving up in front of him was probably a little too early. It was just should have known better. Kyle kind of led that last portion of the race majority. Whether it didn't matter really who got in front of him, because he was going around him no matter what. Um, and so that's just how it was, right? I mean, he's that good with his runs and timing his runs, and then side drafting and completing the pass. So to look back at it, I've watched it 100 times now. He's just really good at side drafting and knowing where his truck needs to be to have the correct air, where it's pulling him and getting a better run, and backing up to the guy behind him and building his run. There's so many different scenarios that go into it that he's just really good at. So I think a lot of those things are still new to me, and understanding that, but learning it and watching it back and knowing what I could have done better, and working with Chandler a little bit better. I didn't think I did a great job working with him, just drafting wise. I felt like I would leave him too much down the straightaway, and then he would get to me at a bad part of the corner, and it just kind of wasn't ideal. But it worked out. I guess it worked out. We didn't have the end result we should have deserved. I thought we had a lot of way better speed than where we ended up, but overall, to put ourselves in all those positions where we made mistakes and learn from them, and now take it to the next race and capitalize on all of it.
Chandler Smith also in a Ford there. I know we hear a lot of the discussions at the cup level about working with pseudo teammates and all that. Is that a big part of your conversations that you had leading up to it, Atlanta, at all?
Not really. I don't think we were all together early part in the race. I don't think we had any necessary plan. I think they had a better plan at Daytona to work together than we kind of did at Atlanta. But it seemed to work out. Ben was kind of on the top when I was on the bottom, and we kind of just weren't with each other for most of the part of the race, and then I had Chandler behind me, and we worked really good together. Felt like I probably left the bottom 5 to 10 laps or too early. He was pushing me by far the best the whole race, and I felt like if I stayed on the bottom and worked with him some more, that either we would have both cleared Kyle, or we just had such good runs and just had a good draft and good momentum going that it was really hard to stop it on the top lane. But you live and you learn, right? I stood in the spotter stand at Daytona and watched all those runs happen and all the momentum changes, and it's just unbelievable to see how a lane adjusts to the momentum and start to build. And it's things like that I am taking in and learning and adapting to. So felt good to be up front and to be in those positions. But like I said, my main focus is to keep learning from it and take it to the next racetrack and go run good. I think if we can go run good at some of these racetracks coming up, I think we can put ourselves in a good position for later on in the year.
Hey, is that the fastest you've ever been in a race vehicle? And did you feel that speed? How is that? Is that a little intimidating, that speed?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the speed is one thing. I think the speed, you kind of realize the speed's there, but like early on in the race when we were in a pack, it didn't seem, everything was kind of nonchalant. You weren't getting pushed. And then you put out yourselves in, a second, third, or fourth position. And then the intensity ranks 3 times higher than it has been all race long, and then it really sets in, and you're getting pushed around. You got a free truck, and you're getting side drafted, and you don't have a lot of air on your right side, and it's a lot of fun racing up front, but it also takes a lot of hard work. Together it takes a lot of pushing, and Chandler did a great job behind me. It just wish we didn't leave him that early. Just wish we stuck together a little bit more, but you live and you learn, right?
I can't imagine what that view would be like at Daytona, sitting up in the spotter stand,
Yeah.
watching all that. Is there anything else that you do to prepare yourself for the following week at Atlanta other than watching some plate racing or
Mhm.
super speedway racing at Daytona?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, rewatched last year's video, even qualifying. I mean, we had no practice on track, so when I went out to Atlanta, we were going to qualify, and that was just so new to me. And like I told my crew chief, I said it was the littlest and kind of the dumbest things that I just didn't know and didn't expect. When we went out to qualify and we were running the top to come to the green flag, it was like, how much do I turn this wheel to stay up by the wall, but not have the truck drift down the racetrack. And it was just little things like that, and not short shifting, getting up to speed. Obviously, the race was a totally different aspect and different race, but that was the first thing on track was not short shifting, and then getting up to speed, and then just having a steady wheel all the way around the racetrack. But a lot of video work, a lot of relying on our teammates. Obviously, past champion Ty. He's a great guy to talk to, and probably the best guy that I can go to, being the short tracker he is, and coming from my position. So a lot of relying on those guys, watching video, kind of doing that on my own end, some iRacing things, even practicing green flag pit stops, so that if that scenario does happen, we're kind of prepared for it, and just being ready. Just doing the Ford simulator deal we have, and being a part of that, and relying on those great people down there as well.
So you move on from Atlanta now. It hasn't really been announced how many races. I don't know if you can say what your next race is or how many races you're expecting so far. I know ThorSports does things a little differently. We've talked to Ty about that too. Anything that you can give us as where you may be next and what the future looks like this season at ThorSport?
Yeah, our schedule is kind of subject to change. We should have a good handful of races, whether that's 10 to 12. Like I said, it's subject to change, right? So, our amazing partners at ThorSport Racing, COTA Sense, have given me the opportunity to be there, week in and week out. And so I'm looking to capitalize on that and keep learning and keep being in position for these next up and coming races. And hopefully another race will be announced soon, and we can hit up the next couple in the schedule, and just take it from there. Right, I'm taking it kind of one race at a time, and focusing on the next one, and just being in a position that maybe I don't know about. Right, so. Yeah, keeping myself ready and ready to go, and being spending as much time as I can down at ThorSport Racing and with Duke, Rhonda, Allison, and just ready to go race and run good.
Hey, what's really nice about the truck schedule is it really doesn't interfere,
Mhm.
with the big races up here, man. So you still get to come back here and dominate the tracks around here, right?
Yeah, that's right. We're kind of well, our late model schedule is actually done, and I think it's posted online, but um yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to get back up to Wisconsin, and just have another fun year in Wisconsin. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy the short track aspect of it, and just to enjoy our family team right here. Done Right X Series has been a huge part of my late model career, and I've had amazing partners that have been with me for a long time now. But it's just fun to do it. I feel like we're all a family. We're not, most of us are family, but some of us aren't. But it's like just a big family going to the racetrack, and so. When we get to win and run good, it feels good to be with those guys, and I'm looking forward to hitting off a good amount of those races, and I think the first one will be the icebreaker at Dell's, and then kind of go from there. I think Bristol's the day after that, or the day before that. Sorry. So that'll be a busy weekend, but just excited to keep working hard, right? Putting myself in position for these truck races. That's kind of the not the end goal. Obviously, the end goal's somewhere in NASCAR, but always love coming and running Wisconsin races, and being a part of the fans and my home team.
Yeah, that short track schedule is announced on your socials there at Luke Fenhaus Racing, so everyone go out and follow that for sure. You mentioned the icebreaker. It looks like you got Joe Shear Classic on there, the two ASA stars on Father's Day weekend, which would be Madison and Slinger that Sunday. Going back to Dells for some Alive for Five, Slinger Nationals, Carl Wagner race. Gandrud Auto Group 250, back to the Dells for a Life for Five, and the ASA Midwest Tour. So a pretty good schedule while mixing in some truck races for you.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's a good schedule. I'm looking forward to it. And it should be fun. It should be fun. Obviously, like I said, end goal is obviously somewhere in NASCAR. So working hard, on that side of things, and that's where I put my main focus. But at the same time, I have amazing people back here at home that keep our late model side up to top near, competition level. So My dad does a great job working on these race cars, and Johnny Huntington, crew chief this year. And we've worked well together the past couple years, and so hopefully we can keep building on it and run good at some of those bigger races, right? I mean, we've ran really good at the Dells lately. Hopefully we can get the Jim Sauter Classic there. And then Kakana would be kind of my bucket list next win. I've been kind of striving for that for the past couple of years, and we've had good race cars there. It's just kind of putting the whole race together. It's just a hard race to win, and so excited to do those races and have some fun this year. I'm looking forward to it. It's a good schedule, and hopefully we can pick off a couple wins throughout the year.
Speaking of Kakana, obviously very special to us, being our hometown racetrack. You have had some great runs there, a couple of top threes there. I remember the first time you were kind of dabbling with the Dixieland or Gansert Auto Group 250, and it was definitely a learning experience. But after that year, I tell you what, man, you've rattled off a couple of top threes, top fives, and I think that one's coming. You've definitely grown to adjust to that track.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good balance there for I think now the past few years, and just put ourselves in a good position. I don't know. Sometimes we're the second best car. Sometimes we've been the best car. Last year, towards the end of the race, thought we had the best car, and then didn't want to see the caution. Then the caution came out, made mistakes, ruined the race for us to win, and just haven't put it all together, right? So it's a big part of any racing. You got to put it all together, and so looking forward to that one. Love all the fans that come out there, the autograph session they have, and look forward to hopefully being in victory lane there. That's kind of been my main one that I've been striving for, and we've been close. So hopefully we can do it this year.
When you look back at Atlanta,
hmm
what's the one moment where you were sitting in the race car and kind of had like the most fun, or you found yourself smiling while you were racing, or maybe under caution? What's the one moment that you found yourself doing that? Because that looked like a blast, man.
Yeah, I think just being out front on the bottom. I think there's no other feeling like getting pushed, and sliding around, and um, that's just a different feeling. It's a different feeling than running, even eighth in the middle of the pack kind of deal with no bump drafting going on. When you're up front, the intensity ranks up a lot higher than anywhere else. And so that was a first for me. And so to take the lead, slide up in front of Kyle, and just race with those guys was a big thing for me. Obviously, in the moment, you don't really look at it like that. But it's cool to look back at it and realize all those things that were going on and happening and the speed we showed. Like I said, in the moment you're not stressing out, but you're just on top of everything and you're not trying to make a mistake. And obviously you're the rookie, so the eyeballs are on you, and you don't want to make a stupid mistake and make a bad late pass or a late block or something that'll end up wrecking a lot of trucks, right? So, yeah, in the moment, it's just you're staying focused and being ready to go. But when you look back at it, and even when you get out of the truck and you talk to your guys, you kind of take a deep breath and realize how cool of a moment it was. It's neat running up front with those guys, and hopefully we can do it some more in the next couple weeks.
Hey, do you find yourself gripping the wheel really tight, and do you hold your breath, or are you kind of relaxed and kick back?
Yeah, when I was on the bottom getting pushed by Chandler, I don't think I was breathing very much at that moment. But I did catch myself a couple times throughout the race when we were running the top all together, where I could just down the straightaway kind of take a deep breath and relax. But when it's up front, man, there's so much pushing going on, it's crazy. And so it's just that's truck racing though, right? I mean, there's a lot of aggressive passes, there's a lot of aggressive side drafting. It's not a long race. There's two short stages, and then the third stage you can race a little bit in, but it's not long. So they race really hard. They side draft really hard, and restarts are tough. And so it's just I think it's the best part of NASCAR, to be honest with you. It's a lot of fun to watch the races on TV, and they're even more fun to be a part of them.
Yeah, we agree with you. Last thing from me here, obviously a very, very impressive run. A lot of people talking about the run that you had down in Atlanta. We talked earlier about it maybe being the hardest discipline to get used to. How did you get so comfortable, and did you feel as comfortable as you made it look on TV?
No, not really. I would say, being out front, it was so new to me, watching your mirror and adjusting where you need to be on the racetrack to block a run or to um, just put yourself in a position where the guy behind you is comfortable in order for them to push you, right? That was so new to me that I just kind of wasn't on, even dragging back. I should have done a better job of dragging my truck back to Chandler's front bumper so that we could draft a little longer. And those were just things that I was so new at that I really didn't even know. And so looking back at all those things, I felt like we could have done a better job at a lot of those things, but definitely not something that I was, I guess, familiar, comfortable with. I mean, it's just so new to somebody that it's just you get up front and it's like, wow, now you're here. What do you do with it, right? So, um, but as the race went on, the more comfortable I would get pushing people and seeing where runs are and understanding when you have a good run and when you need to take it and things like that.
Well, hey man, like I said, a lot of people are talking about that run that you had down in Atlanta and the early start to your NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series career. Hell of a job, man. We appreciate the time as always. We can't wait to see what the schedule looks like for you going forward, and can't wait to see you back up here. And we'll have you on again in the near future. Thank you, man.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having them.
Yeah, good luck, man. We'll see you at the icebreaker down at the Dells. I know you run really good down there, man.
That's right. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Well, Mark, it was great to have Luke Fenhaus on here. A lot of people talking about his run down in Atlanta, like I said, very, very impressive. And he did make it look comfortable on TV. It sounds like he wasn't as comfortable as he made it look, but, running up front, running very competitively with Kyle Busch, passing Kyle, being competitive, giving Kyle a bump. Someone like that, and a bunch of others. There's so much great talent in the Craftsman Truck Series. We enjoy the heck out of it, and what a heck of a job out of him. And I know there's a lot of people that expect a lot of him, but that's a big jump going to somewhere like Atlanta or Daytona, Talladega. It takes a lot of adjustments. So, man, that was so fun watching him up front.
It's crazy, man. Drafting and learning all of that stuff, and the big thing is he brought it back home. He ran every lap, which is cool. And I bet you 14th was rather deflating, but he got shuffled out at the wrong time. You and I were texting with 15 to go. Hey, this dude's got a chance. He's got his shot. And that's all you can ask for, man. But yeah, he brought the truck back home in one piece and good performance, man. And we'll cheer him on the next one that he runs.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see what the schedule looks like for him. He mentioned maybe 10 to 12 races roughly. We'll see what happens because I know ThorSport, you have to be a little flexible. It seems like they do things just slightly different, which works for them and a lot of drivers, which is great. They have a great organization and great way of doing things. So can't wait to see what the future holds. And then you're right. You mentioned on here, you and I have talked about it on here before. The flexibility that the truck schedule gives you to race some super late models back up here is always great for us too.
Absolutely, it works out. It works out really good with the truck schedule, and then they can come back home and do it up.
That's right. Yep. Well, thanks to Luke again for joining us there. Let's move on to some news before we recap Atlanta and talk more about Atlanta going forward. First, I want to give congratulations out to Kylie Vandermoss and Logan Lannett on their engagement there. So congratulations to them. They're great family up here in the Appleton area.
Yep, good. Congrats to that one. Yeah, I just saw that the other day on there. So cool deal.
Also, some big news at the short track level. In addition to that, is the Kwiecki Driver Development Program announced their semifinalists. So it'll be Casey Beatty, Cade Brown, Seth Christensen, TJ DeCare, Noah Eisenhower, Jan Evans, Caden Fisher, Derek Glachecki, Taylor Hoare, Landon S. Huffman, Cody King, Bryce Miller, and Tristan Swanson. Obviously, we have familiarity and are a little biased towards Tristan Swanson, Bryce Miller, and we did see Cody King around here for a little bit last year as well. So, but what a good group of drivers there that are the semifinalists for the Quickie Driver Development Program. Looking forward to seeing who's the finalist and what a program that is. You know, I got this Luke Fenhaus. You can see the, wrong side. The 7 Kawicki on here. He was a part of that program. You know, Ty was a part of it. Ty Fredrickson is the defending champion of it. So it's done so much for short track racing and teams that it's so cool. So can't wait to see who comes out of that great group of semifinalists.
Yeah, for sure, man. That Kawicki program is is really awesome. Really enhanced a lot of driving teams out there. And Noah Eisenhower. You know, we see him down at the Dells. He tears up the Dells down there. So there's another Wisconsin guy with his hat in the ring. So, So we'll see how it goes, man. That's been running. That's been running since Ty was a rookie way back when, right? So this has been going like 10 years, like 2014. Was it 2015 they started this? So
yeah, I want to say it's 2014. Yeah, but somewhere around that range. Yeah,
so
maybe
it's
2015. You might be right. Yeah.
Yep, definitely relevant and still helping other teams. So yep, good luck to all the participants there.
Yeah. Also, Chase Motorsports announced their drivers this year. So Riley Stenjum and Ty Majeski are going to be sharing that ride on Thursday nights up here. Also, Jacob Gady joins their group for a few travel races, it sounds like, maybe a few Thursday nights as well. And also Casey Johnson makes a return to Chase Motorsports as well. So some exciting news up there for the local scene.
Wow, a lot of stuff coming out of that camp. So that's all good stuff. Love hearing good stuff like that coming in the middle of the winter, man. Makes you look forward to looking forward to getting here. Come on, season. Come on, spring. Let's go.
It does. And then some shocking news up here. Slinger Speedway owners, Todd and Elizabeth Thielen, announced that there is a pending sale of Slinger Speedway. They were kind of vague about it because the sale isn't completed yet and didn't want to get into details, but they did say they were started out as fans and racers there. So it's someone in the racing community, going to keep it a racetrack there. So that's good news, but shocking news. And I got to know Todd and Elizabeth really well over the last few years and worked for them. So very thankful for them, and definitely bittersweet. We don't know who the owners are just yet, but bittersweet for sure. Excited for the future, but sad to see Todd and Elizabeth not be the owners anywhere, although I'm sure we'll see them at Slinger or other racetracks throughout the United States and Midwest. So I just wanted to share my gratitude to Todd and Elizabeth Thielen.
You know, I see Todd around. Maybe he could slow down a step, man, because on race day, that dude is everywhere. You can't catch up with that guy because he puts on the miles everywhere to put a Class A event out, man. So, So it's a good deal that they want to make sure that it stays a racing venue and it keeps on going and improving. So, So we'll see how it goes once the new owner takes over.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And I'm sure we'll share the news and try to get both parties on here when it's time and when it's announced, as long as it goes through. So, but just some shocking news there coming out of Slinger. But like I said, bittersweet, but looking forward to the future.
Yep. Just as long as that track stays there, we don't want to demise. When we hear tracks going up for sale and all of a sudden, and it just ends up being put to the wayside. So, yeah, we got to keep that jewel down there in Slinger and keep that thing going.
Absolutely. Moving into some ARCA news here, Zachary Tinkle is returning to Fast Track Racing to drive the number 11 car full-time in the ARCA Menards Series East this year. So he'll be back full-time in the East Series for the ARCA Menards Series.
Okay, yep, East and West, yep, they're relevant out there.
Moving on to IndyCar, of course, they have their opener this weekend at St. Pete. Looking forward to that on Fox. We'll tell you more how you can catch that and the details down there. But Tony Kanaan was announced as the principal of Arrow McLaren. He will oversee team and driver development and key commercial relationships there. And honestly, just seeing Tony and how he interacts on TV sounds like that will be a great fit.
Yeah. So yeah, getting excited for IndyCar, man, and there's a whole bunch of practice and everything going on this weekend to pay attention to. So yeah, I'll be tuning into that this weekend and checking out and see how Fox can do the broadcast. Expect nothing but the best on that. So yeah, well, and we watched the race from St. Petersburg, and yeah, it's worth watching. So tune into that one.
For sure. Also, they announced that Brett Michaels and the All-American Rejects will perform at the Indy 500 Carb Day concert. So some big names that will be out there for that event.
That'll pack some people in there, so that sounds good.
Mobile One Racing extends their sponsorship of Rahal Lanigan Letterman Racing's IndyCar program. It's a multi-year deal, includes primary sponsorship of Graham Rahal's entry at the Thermal Club and full season associate sponsorship. So RLL getting some additional sponsorship coming through there.
Mobile One's been around forever and keeps chugging along. So good deal, man. Keep it going.
And that paint scheme looks incredible. So that's cool too.
Okay.
Going to the Truck Series now, Parker Kligerman and Henderson Motorsports lost their appeal for the disqualification at Daytona after they crossed the finish line first there. The panelists were Bill Mullis, who is the Langley Speedway owner, Kevin Whitaker, who's over at Greenville Pickens, and Tommy Wheeler, who's an ex-team engineer.
It's interesting when they grabbed some of these other people, and then they put them up there to be on the, to be there. So didn't think they were going to win that appeal, man. It takes a lot to get that to overturn. Used to be that NASCAR never overturned, but a couple years ago, there's a few of them that's actually got changed here and there. So unfortunate for Klingerman, and unfortunate for Corey Heim. He didn't get to celebrate on the racetrack. So, but yeah, and then you find Klingerman's over on the CW, and then tried to be upbeat about it. So it is what it is. So I have to move on from that one.
Yeah, it was just tough for both parties. You're right. A lot of people don't think about the other side. Corey Heim didn't get to celebrate winning at the World Center of Racing. So there's another side of that, too, that people don't think about.
Yeah, you'd like to celebrate, and be in victory circle and all that, but still got the victory and, get the trophy, and everybody remembers who wins the race, right?
Yeah. Moving on to the Xfinity Series then, congratulations goes out to the Ellis family on the birth of Zoe. So they had a little girl there. So Ryan Ellis and his wife welcomed a little girl into the world.
All right. Probably a future driver coming up through the ranks, maybe, huh?
Maybe, probably.
We'll see. Hang around long enough and you'll get hooked.
Yeah. Riley Herbst is going to make his return to Joe Gibbs Racing, driving the number 19 Xfinity car at the Circuit of Americas this weekend. It's Herbst's first race with JGR since November of 2020. He will have a total of 4 races there with JGR.
We know that car is going to do really well, Almirola was in it this last week, and at first, all of a sudden, just like there was a little bit of struggling going on there, but man, he sure became relevant later on. So we know that Gibbs car could get around pretty good. So expect good things out of that one.
NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Atlanta got 1.306 million viewers, up around 10% from last year, and it's the best for that event in 5 years.
Why not, man? Atlanta put out a heck of a product this last week, man. If you put Atlanta out there and show it to everybody, man, definitely the ratings are going to go up because that was really some good racing this weekend.
I agree. Road Ranger, I see you have your Road Ranger on, has moved its sponsorship from ThorSport Truck, unfortunately, to Haas Factory Team in Xfinity with Sheldon Creed. So great thing that they're staying in racing. They will be the primary sponsor for Creed for 13 races this season.
I don't care. They're still sponsored racing. If you're down in Illinois, southern Wisconsin, I'll still support Road Rangers. So, yeah, Creed gets a good sponsor there. So they got to celebrate with championship with Ty Majeski last year, and now they moved on. So
Yep.
good for them. Yep.
Sage Karam will be in the Joey Gase Xfinity car this weekend at COTA. So that was some late news that came in. So we'll see Sage Karam back in the Xfinity series this weekend.
Yeah, we see him back and forth there. Is that the 53 car? Maybe
Either
53,
53 or 35, maybe.
35, maybe. Yeah, they switched the numbers around on that. So, yep, Joey Gase, he's out of Iowa.
Yep. Fox Sports recently announced that it has picked up the media rights for MotoGP in the U.S. starting this year, and in fact, it's this weekend with the Tissot Sprints and the Grand Prix will air live on either FS1 or FS2. This weekend's Thai GP will air on FS1. MotoGP joins NASCAR, IndyCar, and the NHRA at Fox Sports. So Fox Sports has a great motorsports lineup.
Far out. Yeah, Fox gets it, don't they? Yeah, just keep stuffing it onto their networks, and we'll be watching it for sure.
And that was start of the Cup Series news I have here. Joe Gibbs Racing is appealing the number 19 penalty of Chase Briscoe that came down after Daytona. It will be heard on March 5th, so next week.
That's a long time, and they sure are definitely saying that they didn't modify any part on that spoiler or whatever. So we'll see how that comes out in the wash, man. I don't know. That was a pretty hefty fine, them 100 points and taking championship points, man. That thing had teeth. Wow.
And when something comes down like that, you have to appeal it regardless, just to see if
No
you can get
matter.
anything else out of it. You have nothing to lose by appealing, so
Yeah.
no surprise there. Although talking about appeals with Henderson, I think Henderson sounded like they had a pretty good case because apparently they jacked it up, and it was how you jacked it up and how you measured. So if they thought that they had a good thing going and didn't win, it doesn't sound good for Joe Gibbs Racing, but you never know. And like I said, they have nothing to lose from appealing.
Wouldn't you think that car is still confiscated, so that they can actually go over and really look at it? And, I'm sure there was a lot of eyes on it for sure, man.
Was that car one of the cars that went back to the R&D center and that's where they found it? I'd have to go back and look, but if that's the case, it might still be there.
It would be confiscated. Yeah. Yeah.
Kubota is going to sponsor Trackhouse drivers Ross Chastain in 6 Cup races, Daniel Suarez for 1 Cup race at Texas, and SVG at the Glen in the Xfinity Series when he's in the Junior Motorsports car.
Yep. Kubota's been around for a few years, and they'll keep right on sponsoring. Good job.
Yep. Arby's will be the primary sponsor for 12 Cup races on Cody Ware's machine and also 2 NHRA drag races for Clay Milliken, who drives for Rick Ware Racing in NHRA. So Arby's also investing in motorsports.
So you can say they got the meats.
I was waiting for it.
They got the meats. So who doesn't like a good dose of Arby's, huh? Every once in a while. Heck yeah.
This came down from Amazon Prime. Fox Sports will produce all 11 practice and qualifying sessions to stream on Prime Video and will feature their broadcast team of Mike Joy, Kevin Harvick, and Clint Boyer. Once it shifts to Prime for its 5 Cup races starting at Charlotte, Prime and its talent will handle the practice and qualifying for those events.
Prime's getting more and more involved all the time, man, and that's the way it's going to go, and that's the way it's going to be, man. Just going to have to get on board with it.
Yep. 2311 Racing will field the number 67 Cup car for Corey Hyman select Cup races this year. The first race will be the spring race at Kansas. Booty Barker will crew chief. He was the crew chief for Bubba Wallace over the last few years. Also worked with Casey Mears over when he was with the Geico 13 car. 2311 will also support a second Sam Hunt Racing car for select Xfinity races for Heim, including this week at COTA.
There was something with Heim through the off season that he, wasn't in that 11 truck just right away and just thinking, he's going to probably move up. And then right away, it was one of the first ones announced. And I wonder if that's where that whole planning came back. You go back to your championship truck right there, and he can dabble in and get some cup experience like that. So, and he's got some Xfinity rides he's going to be riding in. So he's going to be a busy guy. And we definitely can see how well talented he is, man.
And he's got a cup race or a couple cup races under his belt too in that 50 car. I think that was 2311 as well. So he's got some experience. Honestly, I'm surprised he hasn't moved up quicker there, but might be good for his overall career to stay there. A heck of a talent there, and now he's with 2311 Racing, even as their driver development program driver. So he has some good things working for him.
Top equipment there, man. So yeah, should see what happens. We see the talent, man. So we should see it. All he needs is some seat time there.
Yep. Bowman Gray Stadium is now the favorite to have the Clash in 2026, but NASCAR continues to talk to countries all over the world, including Asia, the Middle East, Brazil, South America there. So they're looking all over the world, but this has kind of shifted the thinking from what I've been hearing is that they're going to go to Brazil or somewhere overseas. So now it looks like they may be favoring Bowman Gray for next year at least.
That'd be terrible if they went to Bowman Gray for a one and done, after everybody's at least got some experience there, let everybody else get dialed in, and let's run it again and see if we can make it a better event than this year.
I agree. I'd like to see it at least one, maybe 2 more years to see how that progresses. And then maybe we'll see how it shakes out and go on from there. But I agree with you. NASCAR Cup Series race at Atlanta got 4.586 million viewers, up 1% from last year, and was the most watched sport event of the weekend in the United States.
Yeehaw, yeah. Well, what else was on? Basketball and soccer, right? Not much competition there.
Cup teams will have a new road course tire this weekend at COTA. It should have more tire wear and fall off, so that should be exciting.
Yeah, I was wondering if we were going to have a little moisture. It was kind of iffy in the middle of the week here, but it looks like they might. It looks like they're going to have good weather there, so we don't have to deal with a rain tire or new rain tires. So we'll see if we get some decent weather. Going to be warm down there for sure.
Yeah. NASCAR will pay out drivers twice a year for the driver ambassador program, with the top performer from each segment to get around $1 million and the bottom performer to get around $7,500. The DAP is meant to reward drivers for promoting the sport more. So might see drivers doing more in getting out in communities and promoting the sport. So that's a good deal. And, paying drivers to do it is probably smart because they're the face of the sport, and to get drivers to do it, you probably need to incent them a little bit. It'd be like asking you or I to work overtime and not pay you a little bit more. So probably a good thing coming down the road.
What an incentive, though, for the cash, huh? Yeah, that ought to get people out and about.
Yeah. And the last bit of news I got is Rebel Bourbon will produce a new limited edition bottle using the name and number of Kyle Busch with a 54% alcohol percentage there and suggested retail price around $40. Rebel will produce 30,000 bottles, which will have a label on it with the signature of Kyle Busch and an RCR Racing logo.
All right, so you go to the liquor store and go get one of them, and I'll go get some of that Traveler whiskey 40, and we'll go do a sample test. How's that?
Yeah, we'll create our own flight of shots of bourbon and whiskey.
Heck yeah, during racing, let's do it.
Anything else you want to talk about before we briefly talk about Atlanta and then make our picks and end this thing?
Man, you got it all covered. You're doing your good homework there. Well, I'm messing around up north trying to catch fish in a hurricane up here. So yeah, you covered it all for me right there. So let's go on to the Truck Series and see what happened back at Atlanta.
Sounds good. In stage one, how about Wood? He would go on and win that stage. That was good for him. He's had spurts of speed and success, but to win that first stage, that was impressive for him in that team.
And Connor Mozak, he started on the pole, and that was quite well too. So, but yeah, see Jack Wood up front, all the first stage there. That was rather impressive right there.
Yep. Unfortunately for Luke's teammate Matt Crafton, he would cut a tire and got up into the wall, and kind of was an uphill battle from then. And then Heim would run out of fuel and lose laps near the end of the stage. And he also may have had a battery issue. It looks like they were looking at that. Ty Majeski would also run out as they crossed the line, and he would go a lap down while Kyle Busch won the stage.
Yeah, so they were the only ones that didn't pit after stage one there, and yeah, they ran him out of fuel, and that cost Majeski a lap there, and he ended up getting a lucky dog later. But Heim, yeah, man, all of a sudden, like, what's going on there? And they were digging around the battery. And I think when they came back out, he was like 4 laps down. Man, that ruined his race.
Yeah. Carruth would spin out of turn 4 and collect Hemrick, Perez, Sawalich, Ankrum, Mills, and others. May have had slight damage there. It came out, it looked like he blew a tire, but there was actually oil on the track, so it turned into a red flag.
Man, that car whipped around really fast. It seemed like that. Yeah, it looked like the right rear just blew out, and he spun right around. And poor William Sawalich had nowhere to go there, man. So he clobbered him, and Hemrick got some damage onto one side like that, and that ruined his day also.
Yeah. Well, Hemrick actually got back running up front there, which was impressive. We'll talk about that in a second here. But Muniz and Mozak, Mozak was another driver that having a pretty good day. They made contact while 3 wide and got a bunch of damage. But Kyle Busch would go on and win the race over Friesen, Ankrum, Curry, Chandler Smith, Honeycutt, Rhodes, Majeski, Garcia, and Enfinger. The fastest lap went to Tanner Gray. It was 30.227 seconds, or 183.412 miles per hour. But Hemrick, I want to talk about that because that damage that he had, he got back up front. Eventually, it affected him, and the air got the hood just the wrong way where it pushed him back. But him and Ankrum with that damage running up front was pretty impressive as well.
That was very impressive, yeah. And then every time that Kyle Busch lost the lead, he had this like coming into the corner, like especially in turn 1, and he would cut down low and then have just enough momentum and come back up in front and keep right on going. But on that white flag lap, that did not happen. And Friesen was there with that 52 truck, and it was a drag race, man. And door to door and a little side draft, and Kyle Busch had that inside line, and he pulled that off, man, by 0.17 seconds, man. Was that 0.017 seconds? So close race there, man. Awesome truck race there.
It was awesome. I was kind of worried that, going from super speedway to super speedway, we've seen enough Daytona and all that, but Atlanta just races so different. And I got to keep that in mind for next time, because Atlanta has been putting out such a great product. And I mentioned this on the watch party that we had over the weekend, but it'll be interesting to see. And I think it'll get better and better the more character that track gets in 3, 4, or 5 years.
Yeah, there's some single lane driving, and a lot of guys wouldn't commit to the lower lane, but once the stages were either coming to an end or getting to the end, all of a sudden, once when it came to it, man, there was a 2-lane racetrack. Everybody was committed to the inside, put out a heck of a product, man.
It did. For the Xfinity Series then, early on, Thompson had a tire rub after hitting the wall and stopped on track to cause a caution there. Ryan Sieg also spun while the caution was coming out, but he had a great save to keep it off the wall there.
But he lost it, man. So unfortunate for him. And I think, didn't he get a lap down after that? But he fought his way, and he was relevant later in the race.
Very relevant, yeah, all day long. Hill would win the stage over Love and Mayer.
No surprise there, it's that 21 man, that Austin Hill. He sure definitely knows how to run on super speedways. I think he runs probably 90% in the mirror, and then he has a way of dictating the race, man. He owns the race and he runs it, and it definitely shows.
Yeah. He would also win the second stage over Mayer. And then later on, McLaughlin had a tire explode and would get hood damage. He would get into the wall.
Did you see that tire explode? and boom, it takes the whole fender out. Yeah, unbelievable.
Jeremy Clements would get loose and spin. He would unfortunately collect Taylor Gray, Perkins, Zilich, Jones, and die. And then a little while later, Jones would blow a tire and spin. Maggio and Clements get collected in that deal.
Yeah, there was some things going on with tires there, man. So unfortunate for some of them guys. Was Zilich. He was doing really well, and just like there was a couple times he was in the wrong place at the wrong time during the ends of that race.
Yeah, for sure. Sanchez and Mayer make contact. Mayer spins and collects Zilich. Again, you were just talking about it. Alfredo, Poole, and Lights there.
Yeah, that really destroyed Mayer's his car there. So it was unfortunate for him because he was up front and hanging on right there. But yeah, that ruined his day there.
Yeah. Sanchez and Sammy would get debris from Zilich's door foam on the front of the grill. Caution would come out for debris, but for a while there, that foam was tucked underneath on that grill so tight that can't be good, and that would overheat pretty quick, I would think.
And when they showed the replay, it was just a big chunk laying there, and he hit it solid, and boom, and the whole thing ended up in the front end, and there was parts and pieces of that all over the place.
Retzloff would go into turn one and get into the wall a little bit while Ryan Sieg was pushing him. They would have had an awesome run up top there. Creed tried to push Retzloff after that on the backstretch out of turn two, but Retzloff spins and collects Quapple, Love, Wright, Eckes. Sieg was involved in it. Massey, Balicki. No caution came out. And Austin Hill would go on to win over Elgire, Almirola, Sammy Smith, Sanchez, Jeb Burton, Dye, Honeyman, Swalich, and Harrison Burton.
It was amazing, Jesse Love. He was on the pole, and the first stage, he ran up front, and then all of a sudden he started getting back in traffic, and ever since then he lost his track position, ended up back in the hurricane in that whole mess, and ended up destroying his car at the end. So unfortunate there. But once again, Austin Hill, just, what is that, 4 in a row now?
Yeah.
4 in a row there in Atlanta, and how many stages in a row and everything. I mean, yeah, they're talking, he's tying and beating records of the Earnhardt, so amazing.
Yeah, it is. Interesting call with the no caution there, letting them run to the finish.
Yeah, and we thought, just because of what happened at Daytona, that maybe we're going to get something that's uniform, but the Cup race proved that that's not the case.
The fastest lap of the day would go to Christian Eckes, 30.402 seconds, or 182.356 miles per hour.
Yeah, waiting for him to see what he's going to do. He's there, but it looks like he's learning with that car with Eckes there. So we'll see what happens to him going down the line. He's definitely talented.
Yeah. Before the Cup race got going there, William Byron's car was the last to grid. They found an issue with the air conditioning unit in their checks. None of the work that they did would require them to go to the rear there, but a little bit of concern before they got going at Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. It's a good thing you catch it beforehand, right?
Yep. Barry would win the stage. Unfortunately for Kyle Busch, he would have a long stop there and have to come through traffic. And then Cindric and Bowman would make slight contact. And in addition to that, Yaley and Brad would get some penalties on pit road.
Yeah, out of the box was Brad on that one. So, yeah, he got pinched for that.
In stage two, Ty Dillon had a tire go down and spin. This is where Denny Hamlin would get a penalty on pit road.
Yeah, he ran through too many pit stop boxes. So, yeah, Denny always finds a way to get himself penalized somewhere along. he just does. All of a sudden, there's like 1 out of every 4 races of Denny Hamlin once again on pit road. So, unfortunate for him.
He's been getting better the last few years, I feel like. But when you hear his name, you're never surprised because a few years back, it seemed like every race he would get 1, if not 2.
He's aggressive on pit road, but yeah, he got caught going through too many boxes there.
Yep. McDowell would have to go to the garage with power steering issue, and then a very close call for Priest and Reddick. Wow.
Yeah, for sure. So that was a close call.
Busher and Jones make contact. Jones would spin and hit the wall.
Unfortunate for him, man. It's one of those again. You lay on the brakes and you just see that wall coming in, and he hit the wall. Front end held up rather well, but still there was some hard contact there.
Gilliland had a tire go down and it caused debris there. And then Briscoe and Stenhouse make contact later on. Stenhouse would go up the track into Elliott. Elliott would hammer the wall. He would keep it going, but not for long. He would have toe link broken, spin, and collect LaJoy and Brad Keselowski. Larson would win the stage, but that was an unfortunate incident there.
Keselowski got walloped there, man, and yeah, it was unfortunate for him. So, yeah, that was hard hit by the 9, but they took that back behind pit wall and they fixed that toe link. Remember, you're not done once after you wreck. If you go back in and fix that, and he still ended up making a good day out of it, even though he was wrecked. So good job by the 9 team.
I agree, yeah. Suarez and Gibbs make contact while 3 wide after a checkup happened. Suarez would get in the wall and spin. Gibbs spins. Gregson, Zane Smith, Custer, Yaley, Ware all involved in that one.
That's called an Atlanta big one right there, man. So, yeah, we wrecked a whole bunch of them there.
Busher and Briscoe also make contact. Busher would spin and collect Bowman. Gibbs also spins on the backstretch with the flat tire. He had some prior damage from that last incident we just talked about.
That's probably what cut the tire down in the first place. Yep.
Blaney goes around while being up near the front after a push from Hocevar. He almost saved that.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, did you notice how bumpy that track was in some areas, man? I don't know, either it's soft springs or there is some major bumps there in Atlanta. We call that character.
And that's what we're talking about. How does that transform the track in another 3, 4, or 5 years? That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep, let that sun bake that in a hot summer and everything like that, and only make it better, cure it better. Yep.
Larson would push up, and Cindric got into the wall. Byron was coming fast and gets into Cindric. Unfortunately, he had nowhere really to go. Byron and Cindric both wreck, and the race would go into overtime.
They both went in nose deep, man, and took them out. And boy, the two sure had a shot, man. Cindric was running up there all day, and it was unfortunate for him. And both of those cars were destroyed.
A big incident would happen on the backstretch, and the caution would come out. Christopher Bell would take the win over Hocevar, Larson, Blaney, Stenhouse, Hamlin, Busch, Chastain, Wallace, and Nemechek. Again, we're talking about the cautions a little bit here, but congratulations to Christopher Bell on the win.
Yeah, but everybody had their fingers pointed at the second place guy. Hocevar, Blaney had a deal with him, and Kyle Busch was calling him names and everything like this. And I saw on social media that Hocevar just like, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to, and he sure had that on that last lap. He pushed Larson and then he dove low, and boy, it would have been nice if that caution would have stayed out. This time they threw the caution, which this one, maybe they should have stayed out. It didn't look, when there's a wreck like that, it's at the back of the pack. Naturally, the guys in the back are going to probably slow down. I see that Elton Sawyer, official says he doesn't like cars running through a debris field, and I guess that was the call for it. Fans were up in arms about this whole thing. Lot to dissect on the end there, but Bell, the 20 and Bell was not mostly there all day. He just showed up at the end, and he only led one lap, man, and that was the one that counted at the end.
The thing that I don't understand about the cautions is safety is number one, no matter what. And I'll word it this way. If safety is number one and NASCAR is going to say every incident's different and everything is all that, but you can't tell me that the wreck at Atlanta going into turn 3 was any harder than the Daytona wreck. Did you see that car shoot up into Hamlin's door at Daytona on the last lap of the Daytona 500? I mean, you can't tell me that you can't scream safety and not throw a caution for a hard wreck and throw one for just as hard or less of a wreck. and continue to say that. So I'm looking for a little bit more consistency. One thing that NASCAR and us can agree with is safety is number one. So if it, I think the caution should have came out in Atlanta probably, but I also think probably Daytona. The thing that happened at Daytona was it didn't change the result because Byron was going to win the race anyway because he was the first out of it. But I just hope they get a little bit more consistent. But it's a challenge because you got different people up in the tower for each of these series, so consistency is going to be hard from the top three. But even if you just look at the consistency for the Cup Series alone, it hasn't been that consistent. So it'd be nice to get a little bit of consistency. But I do appreciate the job and the hard work that they put in because it's not as easy as we make it seem. But it certainly can be frustrating as fans to see a little bit of inconsistency.
Well, absolutely. And that's what the fans are all about, And you're not going to make everybody happy anyway. So, um, but we got, just to be, blunt about it, we got ripped off of a good finish, man. I
Yep.
I think now I think Larson would have won that race. Um, and you were saying that maybe Hocevar had his shot, and Bell was there. It would have been a good race at the very end, man. It would have been really close between them guys.
Yeah, I think Hosefar maybe gets it because I think he's able to drag back Larson or Bell. I forget who he was. Must have been Larson because I think Bell was back a little bit at that point. I think he can drag him back, and I don't think Bell would have enough momentum on the high side to get him. But it would have been an interesting. But that was the thing. I was not happy. You and I talked right after, and I was not happy. I was pretty frustrated with that. It robbed us of a finish. I totally agree with that. But it is what it is. It's racing, and we'll move on. You can't change it. It was a good race, a good weekend, all weekend long, pretty much. So just thankful for that. But I am looking for a little bit of more consistency because if we did this podcast on Sunday night, I probably wouldn't be. I don't want to say sugarcoating, but I maybe wouldn't have come off of it just yet.
Yeah, I agree that. So, what do you think about Holsavar and everybody, pointing their finger at him? And he reminds me. He reminds me of a young Ernie Irvin from way back when. Ernie was aggressive. Sometimes he stepped over the line and ruined a lot of equipment, and they'd make Ernie go stand in front of everybody and apologize at drivers' meetings and everything. And he ended up being a scapegoat. And it seems like that's what they're doing with Hosavar here too. Um, he's aggressive like that. Once again, he also kind of reminds you of a Chastain, what he was going through, a couple years ago. I'd rather have a driver you got to pull the reins on instead of trying to get him going. I mean, you and I talked about that. You brought that up. I see no problem with it. Uh, what do you want? Vanilla for everybody? You got to have somebody out there and being aggressive like that. And hey, hats off to that. I don't have a problem with the way Hocevar was driving. What do you think?
I think if you're gonna look at one incident that I'm recalling, probably the Blaney one was probably the worst. You got to know where you can push and where you can, and that's a place where you just probably shouldn't. Now, if it's the last lap and it's on, okay, I can understand that, but there was quite a few laps left, so I can understand Blaney's frustration. I'd be curious to hear why Chastain is frustrated because Chastain's obviously been in that same spot and maybe worse before. And if he's just mad that Hosvar didn't help him because they were pseudo teammates and his mentor versus mentee, um, I don't know. I would say no, that's not how it works here. Yes, if we can work together, but I'm not going to sacrifice my finish to help you necessarily. So if that's what that was about, but I can understand some of the frustration from probably Kyle Busch and Blaney, but at the same time, I I don't mind it. You're not there to make friends. You're there to run your own race. And honestly, most of his moves worked out. Just the Blaney one, and I think the Kyle Busch one was probably the other one that I probably won't be most happy about. But um, the other moves seem to just work out. Now, maybe they
That
don't work
Blaney,
out.
That Blaney one was awesome because then we got to see how Ryan Blaney can do a 1/4 mile drift, dude. And I'm yelling downstairs, "Yeah, save it, come on, save it!" And all of a sudden, at the very end, finally you got to make sure that you don't end up going back up on the track. And that was every bit of a 1/4 mile slide, man. That was that was impressive by Blaney.
It was very impressive, and we know the driver that Blaney is, but I think that was probably the most egregious one. You just can't push there. You got to push a little before that before you get to that spot because that's such an unloading part of the track when you get into the corner like that. But that's the thing. He's learning. That's the first time he's been in that situation, so you got to put yourself in that shoe, in his shoes as well. So I think it's good. I think what Ryan did, and I'm not saying that Chastain didn't do this, but it sounded like Chastain was a little more frustrated. Blaney was frustrated. We walked up to him and, he said, "You just got to calm down." And it sounded like it was a very constructive conversation, whereas I think Chastain was mad and they walked away not agreeing. So, and not that Blaney and Hocevar agreed either, but it sounded like Blaney's was a little more constructive from what we've heard of it.
But that communication could actually be a learning tool, you
Mhm.
know, that
Yeah.
you could make it constructive when you come up to somebody and did you wrong, but you can say, hey, and look at it this angle like this. And, it looked like Carson was sitting there and he was actually listening and soaking that up, instead of just, arguing back and forth and pointing fingers and everything. It looked like it was a constructive conversation. And hey, maybe it works out as a learning curve. So, yeah, he's just a young kid, a young buck, man, and he'll learn from that and move on. And probably going to see him up front some more, man. That's all right.
Yeah, the other thing, I'll say, yeah, it did look like he was soaking it up. It looked like the Chastain conversation went a little differently, but I think for Blaney, it looked like he was just soaking it in. And yeah, there's some things we got to work on. And stuff like that. But the other thing I want to talk about is he made a comment about how he was talking to Jeff Dickerson, and they were talking about the race coming up, and he's like, "Well, you're going to ride like you normally do." And Hosfar said, "I am not riding." And one of the storylines I told you and everyone on this podcast that I was looking forward to coming in the season was who takes the biggest step forward. Is it going to be Spire or Front Row? I felt like those two teams were kind of coming up together and building. And we saw it in Daytona 500. Justin Haley was nowhere to be found in the Daytona 500. Michael McDowell had some issues. He was mid-pack, kind of got inside the top 10 for a little bit, but not really. Hocevar rode with Haley. To me, that's the sign I'm kind of frustrated with as a fan. And maybe it's my fault for kind of looking at these two as equal, but Front Row is running up front and doing things that they should, while you're hearing Spire talking about riding. So I think that tells me that Front Row is definitely going to take that step forward quicker.
Yeah, we're sure seeing Gilliland. He's growing before our eyes too, and we know Front Row found speed last year, man. And tell you what, yeah, they're going to be good this year, man. Front Row for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, they move on to COTA, my friend, this coming weekend, where they have a little bit of a different track going on, a shorter course. So I think there's how many corners are there? I know the big talk was going from 6 to 12, but they eliminated some corners there. Is it 6 corners that they got down at COTA? It's definitely a shorter course.
I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure out where they are going to cut that off and go across to cut the backstretch off and everything like that. So we'll have to pay attention to that. Remember, they got them S curves, and you got to make sure that you stay whatever those turtles or rumble strips or whatever, that you can't cut the corners too much, and it's always somebody's always too far on the inside of those S curves, and we always like that classic turn one. It goes like what is that, like a 270-degree turn, and you end up 6-7 wide coming out of there, and there's some guys that get elbowed out of the way. It's a crazy corner. So yeah, looking forward to Austin, man, this year for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and it'll be, the interesting thing is we go from Daytona, which you could call as a wild card, Atlanta's kind of a wild card now, and COTA road course can be a wild card with all the strategy and all that. So I feel like we got 3 wild cards to start the season here.
Yeah, then off to Phoenix, or with that, and then off to Vegas behind that too. So man, season's on, man. We're ripping right along here.
Yep. Let's make our picks here, buddy, so we can earn or end this thing here. So last year in the Xfinity Series, that went to Kyle Larson. Also, I should mention here the fastest lap for the Cup Series at Atlanta went to AJ Allmendinger. It was 29.541 seconds or 187.671 miles per hour. But moving forward here for the picks, Kyle Larson was the defending winner of the Xfinity Series race.
Just to follow up that AJ Allmendinger, it took them like 5 days before they finally got the points and gave him that point. But otherwise, everywhere you looked, all of a sudden, it thought AJ Allmendinger got the point and was going to see if they were going to put it on there. And it took all the way to like 5 days later before they finally gave him that one bonus point. So he ended up with 24 that day. Um, so yeah, I got to pay attention to that. So who was the champion here last year?
Kyle Larson, and I get to go first for the pick'em because you had an awesome week, like I thought you would. In the Xfinity Series, I'm gonna go with William Byron. I gave a lot of thought to Ross Chastain, who's going to be in the 9 Junior Motorsports car, though.
I knew you were going to take Byron, so yeah, with Chastain and a junior motorsports car, yep, going to jump on the 9, man, and we're going to fight it out with that 17. But I think you got the pick, man. I think Byron's got a way of having that 17. We've seen that thing perform before.
Yeah. Who do you got?
And Chastain in the 9.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my 1A 1B. I had a hard time deciding between the two, but should be a good battle there coming up this weekend. In the Cup Series, I am gonna go with SVG. I'm gonna throw an SVG out right away at the first road course this season.
Yeah, and as I was going in, I was going to say, you know what? Normally you take a back-to-back, and I thought you were going to take Byron, and throw a double Byron at me, and then I'd say, well, I'll throw a double Chastain at you, but, you threw Byron at me on Saturday, so I'm going to turn around. I'm going to throw that right back at you on Sunday. So I'm going to take Willie B. Boy, I tell you what, seems to be one of the hottest drivers right now, and so we'll see. We'll take that on right there.
Yep. The defending race winner, of course, is William Byron, like you said, Mark. So a good pick there. The TV schedule coming up looks like this. So this will be COTA we'll talk about first. This will be Central Time. So look, they just got in at 4 o'clock. They did Xfinity qualifying, so that was about 2 hours ago. Practice. And an hour ago they got in qualifying. Qualifying might still be going on. It's in the 70s with no % chance of moisture today, so everything should be good to go to end there. Tomorrow, Saturday, 10 o'clock on Amazon Prime Video, Cup practice, 11:30. Also on Prime is Cup qualifying, and then 1 o'clock it switches over to the CW for NASCAR Countdown. 149 on the CW. The Xfinity Series goes green with stages of 20, 20, and 25 in the 80s with 0% chance of moisture. Then Sunday on Fox for all of this, 1:30 is NASCAR Race Day. 2:49, the Cup Series goes green, stages of 20, 25, and 50 in the 70s with 20% chance. So that has changed back and forth. So Sunday, still a question mark there. For IndyCar over at St. Pete, today they did at 1 o'clock on FS2 was Indy NXT practice. 2 o'clock was IndyCar practice, and I believe Kyle Kirkwood was the fastest out at St. Pete there, so something to pay attention to. And then tomorrow, Saturday, 8:10 on FS2 is Indy Next practice. 9:15 on FS2 is IndyCar practice. 12:30 on FS2 is Indy Next qualifying. 1:30 on FS1 is IndyCar qualifying. In St. Pete, it will be 70s with 5% chance of moisture tomorrow. And then on Sunday at 8:02, the IndyCar warm-up will be on FS2. 9 o'clock on FS1 is the Indy Next race, 45 laps for that one. Then it switches over to Fox at 11 with the pre-race. Also on Fox at 11:29, the IndyCar series goes green for 100 laps in the 70s with 5% chance. So IndyCar over at St. Pete looks awesome for weather.
So that's a triple header on Sunday, ain't it? Yeah, we got 3 races on Sunday. So what else you want to do? You could start your breakfast with racing. No better way to start a Sunday on race day to do that.
That's right, man. That's right. So yeah, IndyCar on Fox on the big channel, all season long. So that will be cool. Of course, you got to have FS1 to watch that next IndyCar race, and Haley Deegan's a part of that program. So there's a name to watch for NASCAR fans if you were unaware of that. I just wanted to check before we finished up here to see if there was any results from practice in qualifying just yet. I don't see anything. Have you heard of anything from? We heard the IndyCar side with Kyle Kirkwood being fastest in practice. Have you heard anything out from COTA?
I have heard absolutely nothing yet. Been kind of busy and running this way and that way this afternoon, and but I'll after we get off of here, I'll start paying attention to that stuff. And I got my fish poles all put away for Sunday, man. So I got my priorities straight, man. I'm going racing on Sunday and feed the fish some other time.
There you go. All right, man. Well, thank you to Tim with the Corp Racing, using my awesome cup again, as you saw a few times during the broadcast. Appreciate it so much. Also, Ben and Curie with Valley Gasket as well. Means the world to us. Thank you, Mark, again for joining us, and Luke Fenhaus for being our guest this week. Getting a few more things scheduled for March, so looking like a fun month coming up here. Really, really looking forward to it. So thanks, everyone, for your support. We appreciate it. And, hey, man, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Let's have a good racing weekend here, man.
Let's do it.
This has been a production of Lore Sports. Hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you for listening.